Florida State is a different team than they were through the first 11 weeks. But as you look at who they are as a team right now, without Jordan Travis, they are a different team, and the committee voted Alabama 4 and Florida State 5.
You all thought that Florida State would be in, having completed an undefeated season.
Florida State still deserves to be in the college football playoff.
No, I'm telling you, as a person who thought Bama should have been in over Florida State, it is complete garbage.
I don't know if this is right or not, but in CFP era, a team that goes in as one, I don't think it's fallen out of that. And not that history says anything, but when you talk about 4 best teams, watch the game.
I felt embarrassed for Kirby Smart. He had to. It was the same thing Nick Saban did last year. It's embarrassing for those guys to tarnish their legacy by having to go out there and grovel and try to make their case. It's awful.
Florida's Attorney General launched an investigation into anti-competitive conduct, that's antitrust laws,
if that was the methodology,
or Georgia, if they're squared up where
I don't know how you can go undefeated and still don't be in there. So
the college football playoff is broken. It's man, we got to get a handle on this shit. Ever since the playoffs started in 2014, there's always been a salty team or two. Just look at 2014 TCU or Baylor, 2016 Penn State, 2017 Ohio State, or even undefeated UCF that one year. It's nothing new. The same shit happened with the BCS. Shout out to 2012 Georgia, you're champions in my heart. But this is the first time we've ever had 5 conference champions that were worthy of the playoff, and a 6th that might be better than all of them. You're either a leader or you're not. But naturally, someone was gonna have to get left out, but I want to take a look at a couple years that were particularly controversial in order to have a little context. In 2016, the committee valued an Ohio State team with 1 loss and an out-of-conference win over Oklahoma over a Penn State team with a head-to-head win and a conference championship. The very next year in 2017, they made the same move and selected a 1-loss non-conference champion Alabama over a 2-loss Big Ten champ Ohio State. Okay, so we're valuing conference championships and wins and losses relative to the competition you've played, right? What's this? It is best. Most deserving is not anything in the committee's lexicon. They are to rank the best teams in order, and that's what they do. Just keep that word in mind, best teams. What the fuck, Bill? Best is forward-looking, looking at the playoff matchups and thinking, I wonder what'll get the best TV ratings. Most deserving is looking back on the season and looking through each team's schedule, looking through each game and how each team performed in those games relative to the talent of their opponents. Best would mean letting in 2 or 3 lost teams, and from what we've seen from the committee, you're pretty much disqualified if you have multiple losses. Whether or not you want to believe that the committee has changed its criteria or that it's just inconsistent, I think we can all agree that the regular season should matter. By saying you're putting in the best 4 teams, that means you don't care about the results of the games and what actually happens on the field. But what I'm going to do next is walk you through exactly what I would do if I were made the all-powerful commissioner of college football. I'm not going to talk much about transfer portal or NIL problems, but I'll just say that the schedule of recruiting and portal windows and things of that nature need to be entirely reworked, even if that means completely shifting over when the season takes place. It needs to make sense for the sport and line up with the academic calendar. The portal should not be open during fucking bowl games and playoff games. Imagine if free agency in the NFL started on week 17 and ended within a month after the Super Bowl. That's not functional. And plus, it'd help a lot with bowl opt-outs, which brings me to my next point.
Johnny bit me, and that really hurt, Johnny.
Make bowl games week 0 of next year's regular season. And yes, before you ask, I stole this idea from Lake Cuke with Josh Bate. Go Freights, and go to
Academy Sports and Outdoors.
By doing this, you completely eliminate bowl opt-outs, and you add an absolute fuckload of excitement to the beginning of the season. You add much needed out of conference games, and bowl victories can be a part of a team's resume heading into the playoffs, which only gives more excitement to that. I see why some people might not like this idea though. I can already see it now. You guys are furiously typing in the comments and it's gonna look something like this. The current year's team would be affected by the success or failure of the previous year's team. You shouldn't have to play a top-ranked team after all your best players from last year are gone. And what I would say to that is, shut the fuck up. That already happens. The AP poll seems to always make their preseason poll and then adjust from that starting point instead of just starting from scratch every week like they should. What I would love to do is have every team start out unranked and then have the first rankings come right after the week 0 bowl week. That way we can more accurately gauge how strong each team is and how deep each conference is compared to one another, and at the same time remove a little bit more bias from the ranking system.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Fuck the 12-team playoff, double fuck auto bids, go to 6 or 8 teams. The bigger a playoff gets, the less impact regular season games have, and that's just how it is. The more teams that get in, the more likely a big dog on a down year has a shot at the end. It makes it even harder for teams like 22 TCU or 21 Cincinnati because they'd have to win more than just one playoff game to make a run at the championship. Imagine if Georgia or Bama or Ohio State or someone of that caliber has a shit ton of injuries and ended up with 3 losses, but at the end of the season they get a few key pieces back and they're starting to round into form. In a 4-team playoff, or hell even a 6 or probably an 8-team playoff, they'd have no shot. But with 12 teams, you bet your ass they're absolutely dog-walking Liberty or Tulane. So just to be clear, this doesn't benefit my favorite team. I'm not suggesting these changes out of bias. I want the regular season to hold the same weight as it always has. Imagine if Ole Miss beat Bama last year. That would have been absolutely insane. Bama fans would have been in shambles and Ole Miss fans would be over the moon. Now imagine that happens this year. Neither are gonna care quite as much. And it's not just because Saban's not there. They both know that they can lose that game and still have wiggle room before they're knocked out of the playoffs.
This is bullshit.
Here it is, the reason I made this entire video. Now, I'm not one of those guys that wants to go back to the BCS rankings. I think a system strictly based on numbers and calculations is inherently flawed. But so is a system based strictly on human judgment. For far too long, we've been looking to the rankings to determine how much a win is worth, but that makes zero sense whatsoever. You're basing something off of itself. I think the ranking process should be 2 separate polls. First, we need an official college football power rating generated solely from numbers and data, similar to the BCS system, but recalibrated to be a power rating rather than a ranking. And then we have a ranking system, pretty much just using the committee system we have right now, only adding the power ratings as a source to judge the quality of the team, thereby solidifying each team's strength of schedule. The college game is not like the pro game. Every team is not on an even playing field. Strength of schedule should be the biggest determining factor out of everything. A close loss to Michigan should make you look a hell of a lot better than a close win against Rutgers.
Hank, I've shit my pants. Good. Right, you son of a bitch.
I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying here too seriously. This is all in good fun. No matter what happens, big changes are coming to the sport, and I'm just throwing out ideas that I think would make it better. Now, I could be completely wrong. My ideas could be absolute horseshit, and if they are, let me know why. I'm genuinely curious on what people would think about this. But no matter what, if we expand the playoffs to fucking 64 teams, and we just get rid of the regular season and get rid of every single conference except the SEC and the Big Ten. Even if we do all of that, if you're a fan of college football, nothing, and I mean nothing, could ever change the feeling of Saturdays in the fall.
What the hell are you even talking about? I asked if you wanted to record an episode of the podcast.